Hey, Tanner James, DJ TJ, you are listening to the Peak Period podcast. This is episode 6, and we have DJ Lunatiko. Awesome DJ. If you don't know of him, you definitely need to check him out. Has some awesome tips, and we go over a lot of things in here that are super helpful. So definitely make sure you check it out. He gave me a tip that I'm actually going to implement about the Google Docs and using Google Drive. So make sure you stay for that part. That's at the end, and it is super helpful. So I will catch you on the other side after we get done talking. Okay, so yeah, we are here with DJ Lunatiko, awesome DJ from Fresno. He does a lot of weddings and quinceañeras. Pretty booked out, very people love him, awesome reviews. And he is here from his DJ company is Moss Entertainment. Thank you for jumping on today. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, sir.
Yeah. So yeah, we're just gonna kind of go over the process of booking. So kind of like when you get a lead, how do you respond? What's your opinion on like pricing? When you send pricing, right? Like, do you send it over an email? Do you have to have a phone call? That kind of thing? And then going into kind of the next stages of how do you plan, and then at the event, how is everything? And then after the event, how do you get reviews? That kind of thing. Just kind of like the whole process. We're not going to go in super in depth, but just kind of like an overview of what's going on. So if you get a lead, right, for maybe a year in advance, maybe a year and a half advance, whatever it may be, and it's a wedding, and they say, hey, we're looking to hire a DJ. We like you. You're bilingual, and we like that. Whatever it may be. How do you respond, right? So maybe they don't ask for pricing, but maybe they just say, hey, we'd like to have you, are you available? That kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, usually depends on a few factors there. Depending on what they lead with. If they lead with just a very dry, hey, we're interested in you, and if they just allude to give me your pricing, then that's just a lot of DJs kind of are not a lot of DJs, but at least the feedback that I've gotten from people is like, oh, why do they always ask for pricing? Well, the thing is that people are not educated in this medium.
Mhm.
You got to think back, us DJs, this is something that is still relatively new
Uh-huh.
for people. As far as 40 years ago, if you think about it, people were still booking bands.
Uh-huh.
Like
Right.
they didn't. This medium. This is a relatively new career.
Mhm.
So people are still not educated to the point where they're asking the right questions. So I think it's very important to try to educate them. And part of trying to educate them is either trying to get a face-to-face meeting,
Mhm.
or if that's not possible, then definitely like a phone call.
Mhm.
If you've exchanged with them over social media or over an email stream where they're just like, hey, pricing, then, and they're not going to give you the time of day, then odds are, even if you give them a competitive price, then
Mhm.
odds are they may not be the fit for you.
Yeah.
If they're not willing to invest that much into their entertainment, then they're probably not really that much interested in providing a really good source of entertainment. So for me, it's really trying to have that conversation, trying
Mhm.
to get to that second step. For me, an in-person meeting is always ideal, just
Right.
because of the feel that I
Mhm.
can get from them, and vice versa. Because
Right.
sometimes it may not be the right fit. I may
Mhm.
not be the right fit for them. They may not be the right fit for
Mhm.
me. And I have a certain style that I try to portray through my marketing,
Mhm.
through my content, my social media. And a lot of the times that filters a lot of my clients. A lot of
Mhm.
the time, even the package names that I have are very custom to filter out who is really interested in my services. So for me, marketing to what I feel my strong suits are very important, and
Mhm.
usually I get really strong leads from that. So try to do an in-person meeting when I do an in-person meeting, I have my planning package, like my what I use to coordinate for myself, so that I know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I give that to them for free. I just tell them
Okay.
like, thank you for meeting with me. Everybody's time is really important, and you got to be sensitive to that. You can't come in with your high horse and be like, hey, they're privileged to meeting with me. It's actually the other
Mm-hmm.
way around.
Right. Right.
You are
Right.
serving your client, you are serving them. They are putting a roof over your head. They are,
Right. Right.
paying for your
Right.
kids' diapers essentially. So you got to think of it as a serving mentality. So for me, even if they don't book with the service, I want them to leave knowing that they gained something
Mm-hmm.
from that meeting, that they gained some sort of knowledge, as far as like, hey, even if I can't take care of them, I want that next person in
Mm-hmm.
line, that who they're considering, to at least be able to do that for them. And
Mm-hmm.
so with that, I give them my planning questionnaire. If it's a wedding, it's my planning questionnaires are specific for weddings. If it's for a quinceañera,
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole different beast. And then I give them my quinceañera planner. Like I have a meeting later on today, and for me, it's trying to meet with them at a location that's equidistant. So later on today, actually, right after our meeting
Mm-hmm.
here, I'm gonna be meeting with a client who lives about a little bit over an hour away from where I'm located.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to meet them halfway. And I've, in the near future, I would probably want to get an office space, just because it
Right.
just it super legitimizes
Totally.
you as a business. And what you're able to do with the marketing in that is just, it's very different. But for right now, in trying to meet with them halfway, again, it's trying to serve them. So gonna give them my quinceañera planner,
Mm-hmm.
gonna go over the pricing, and I pretty much tell them before I even, when I before I go over the pricing, I let them know, hey, I'm priced above average as far as what is here in the valley,
Mm-hmm.
and this is why.
Right.
First of all, I've been doing this for 16 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
I have all this video content. I have my website licensed, insured, all that stuff. So it's not where I'm a self-titled DJ.
Right.
Kind of. I always use this example a lot, even in my marketing, where just because Dr. Dre has the doctor title
Mm-hmm.
doesn't necessarily make him qualified to operate on you.
Right. Right.
And that's something that I go off of, because there's a lot of people that get involved in this business, but they buy the equipment, they invest
Mm-hmm.
into it, but then they're out 2 or 3 years in. I mean, this takes
Right.
a really long time to build up to. And so for me, is I'm trying to get them and educate them to the point where, like, look, you're booking a professional
Mm-hmm.
service here. You're not booking a fly by night
Right.
service.
Right.
And it's for this certain amount of time. I have this certain amount of experience. I've done this, I've
Mm-hmm.
done that. And there's a reason why you're giving me the time of day. So if you educate them on why things cost the way that they do, they're a little bit more prone to be understanding, versus you
Mm-hmm.
being all butthurt and being like, well, they want pricing, the pricing. Well, they don't have no gauge. That's
Right.
how they gauge
Mm-hmm.
everything. When you go to the store, that's what you look for, because
Right.
you're not educated, and so when you start educating the client and telling them, look,
Mm-hmm.
if you were to go out and even just rent this equipment,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm taking, the value
Right.
of my
Right.
equipment, and you were to go rent it for this amount of hours, and you're going to set it up, and you're going to do this, you're going to do that, this is how much it's going to cost you. So the more that you can educate them on that,
Mm-hmm.
it definitely speaks volumes. And if you um, are telling them, like, look, I'm going to be helping you throughout this process, you're not going to have to be babysitting me.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, they're probably going to get tired of me going up to them and telling them,
Right.
hey,
Right. Right.
we're doing this, or hey, we have to hack the schedule,
Uh-huh.
do this. So that's kind of the first part. The first part is, trying to secure that booking, but also trying to secure a booking with somebody who's ideal for
Right.
you, like ideal couple or an ideal client, because it's going to make your work shine so much
Right.
more than just trying to fill your calendar.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm a strong believer in quality over quantity.
Mm-hmm.
If I can have 30 bookings, at the rate that I want,
Mm-hmm.
versus, you know, 60 bookings for, you know, 20 or 30 events that I dread being
Hmm.
there.
Right.
You know, the day of event, that's going to shine through, you
Totally.
know. And I'm a firm believer in that, and try to develop my marketing to the point where I'm marketing and reeling in my ideal clients.
Hmm.
And so usually with that booking, first meeting is that. And for the most part, they'll book right then and there and be like,
Hmm.
okay, well, what's the deposit? And you know, I try to make it as easy as I can for them,
Hmm.
and I can tell them, well, I got, you know, my Square setup, I got PayPal, I got Vimeo, I got Cash
Hmm.
App. Like, what's your preference?
Yeah.
You know, cash, whatever. You know, we'll make it happen. Again, going back to trying to serve them, and so that's kind of the first phase is
Yeah.
securing the booking, and then the second phase for an event is
So real quick, you said that you like to have meetings or at least phone calls,
mhm.
uh, preferably meetings, because it kind of shows when you can go and you can be in front of a client and show that you're professional. And you guys can't see it right now, but he has a embroidered polo shirt on that says Moss Entertainment on it. So that's professional. That's what, and I tell people you need to run it like a business, right? You need to take your DJ into a DJ business because you are a DJ business, and when you have that, you start operating differently. You start
Yeah.
actually spending money on marketing. You buy polo shirts that are embroidered. They're expensive. They're not cheap. But it's kind of one of those things like buy once, cry once. You pay for it once, then you have them, and you're good to go. But that's one of those things that does set you apart. And as well, you said credit cards. You accept credit cards, and I think a lot of DJs still fall under the whole like I'm a DJ. Like you can pay me in cash. Like, yeah, we like to be paid in cash, but you know what do businesses do? What do real businesses do? They don't care. They're fine with credit cards, So I think that's one of the big things is you have to run it like a business. Don't
Mhm.
think of your DJ services as I'm a DJ. Think I'm an owner of a DJ business because that changes not only how you it changes how you think and how other people perceive you. And then they're more willing to pay more if they think that you're a professional and not just a DJ, right?
Yeah.
And then there was something else about some people have low budgets, right? Some people really can't pay more than $200. They don't have the money to pay, so I think a lot of DJs try and come in and then they get upset with that, and it's like, okay, well they should not be your client,
Yeah.
right? If you're at $1,000 and they're at 200, you can't make that deal happen, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just not going to happen. So
Yeah. The
you
bridge.
trying to make that deal happen is only going to upset you, and then you're going to have a bad event because now you're upset that you're getting gypped when you're at $1,000 and they're at 200 and you're doing the event for 400 to close the deal. So I think you have an awesome point there that if you can work with the clients that you want to work with that are good for you, that pay the fee that you charge, you end up happier, which means you enjoy the event more and you have better performances, right?
Correct.
So, okay, the second part, after they book, kind of the planning, right? Where do you go from there? Do you send them some kind of questionnaire? Do you have another in-person meeting, more phone calls? What do you do?
After the first booking, because I give them my questionnaire.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, then I tell them, look, we usually won't meet again until, 2 weeks or even a month before
Mm-hmm.
the event, because you're not going to have a lot of those details yet.
Right.
And me being involved in the planning portion of it a lot, and when if it's kind of useless to try to sit down with them and come up with the schedule 6 months beforehand,
Right.
and then it's going to completely change
Totally.
because this that and the third, and that's happened before.
Uh-huh.
That's why I say 2 weeks or even a month before. That's when we would meet up, and then that's when the final payment is collected.
Okay.
Versus having to worry about the day of
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna get paid,
Mm-hmm.
things like that, or is the check gonna clear,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So you get rid of all that right
Smart,
then and
smart.
there with that,
Now, have you ever
and
had any clients weirded out by that?
I haven't actually,
Okay, good.
because the way that I explain it to them now is look, I need the funds first of all for the biggest piece of this is that if something happens to me, which thank God nothing has, but I've been in instances where I've had food poisoning and I still
Mm-hmm.
showed up to the event.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in a car accident and I still showed up to the event, but if something happens to me, like somebody else needs to get paid so that I can provide somebody to you.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So I have to have some sort of plan B. Right now, the plan B that I'm working on and I have in place is that I try to get all the pertinent details like the planning agenda,
Mm-hmm.
the music that they're going to be using, like especially like the first dance, father daughter, like all that type of stuff, in a Google Drive folder that my wife has access to, or even really close DJs that are part of my network have
Mm-hmm.
access to. So if God forbid something happens to me,
Right. That's smart. That is really smart. Okay, so you have a Google Drive folder. I'm probably going to implement that now. I like that. So you have a Google Drive folder that you have up in the cloud, and you shared it with your wife, so she has access to it. And then you have maybe other DJs or other close friends that have access to it. So if something
yeah,
were to happen to you, somebody could go on there and click on it, and it would say, wedding on this date and this name, and then it has, maybe 10 folders of the grand entrance song, the first dance song, mother son, right?
yeah,
Okay, so then if something were to happen to you, they can access it, and then they don't have to worry about, hey, what songs did they want? They don't have to worry about the bride and groom. It's all up there. That is really
yes.
smart. That is really good. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, so I also haven't had anybody complain about payment prior to the event. And I think part of it's because if you come off as being a professional, then they don't worry. They're like, oh yeah, no, like, he does this. It's not like his first one. It's not like
Yeah.
his, this is his only event that he's, or, he's in the first 10 events, like they know like, okay, he's not going to run away with our money. He has too much at stake, a bad
Yes.
review. So, I mean, I think if you have like, 2-star reviews on your Yelp page, then it may be a little harder for you to explain that to a client that it's okay
Correct.
to that no, trust me, it's okay. Like, you can pay me early.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so then you have the in-person meeting maybe 2 weeks before, and you kind of, or sorry, 4 weeks before, 4 or 5 weeks before, you kind of work out details, finalize everything, all that kind of stuff.
What was that again? You were cutting off
No
here.
worries. So maybe 4 or 5 weeks before the event, you
Oh,
meet up in person, finalize everything, make sure you're on the same page, all that kind of stuff.
yes, especially if they end up getting like my package that has the photo booth, then we're gonna go over, the photo booth design.
Mm-hmm.
Just because being in promotions and just being a one man show as far as like marketing and everything, I taught myself graphic design. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, it's not like where I'm using a template for my photo booth stuff. It's like I create these from scratch on Photoshop.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing for the monogram because
Mm-hmm.
I use the digital monogram. I use a projector, so we'll go over those details
Mm-hmm.
if that's what they have in their package, and then we also go over what things they have in mind as far as what they thought things were gonna run,
Mm-hmm.
and then I tell them, and then sometimes they hit the nail on the head, but sometimes I'm like, look, this is not gonna work. Like you're only gonna have like an hour and a half dancing,
Mm-hmm.
and your photographer's not even gonna be able to take pictures of this, or your
Uh-huh.
videographer. Like I try to coordinate the reception for them to get the most bang for their buck
Mm-hmm.
as everybody, including myself. Again, you're serving your client.
Right.
You gotta really take that to heart to really strive in this. It's not where you're like, oh my God, I gotta do this event again. If you're thinking that way, you're not
Right.
you're not in the right business, or you're not serving your ideal client,
Right.
because you should really be like the serving part, should come where you're just like, I want them to feel like family to a
Mm-hmm.
certain degree. And so once we do their final meeting, I ask them, what time is your videographer leaving? If they're having a traditional mass, or if they're doing the reception there, then that kind of changes what the dynamic's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I try to get a lot of the schedule of events done, of course, before the videographer leaves or before the photographer leaves. Sometimes it's a really, really entertainment filled event.
Mm-hmm.
For example, a lot of the events that I do is, for the Latino
Mm-hmm.
community, and they believe strongly in having a mariachi
Right.
for the first 2 hours of the dinner. Okay, so if your reception starts at 4 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
4 to 6, I can't really do too much.
Mm-hmm.
The mariachi is there, just taking care of that. So then at 6 o'clock or at 7 o'clock, depending on what time the reception starts, then that's when we can go ahead and start with the process.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's certain things that I could do to hack the schedule to get some things going a little bit earlier, like cake cutting. The cake
Mm-hmm.
cutting, all you have to do is pretty much announce it. If they have mariachi, then you can take care of it on their first break, or
Mm-hmm.
even in a break between one of their songs, and you just announce it and be like, hey, they're going to be cutting the cake, and it's just for pictures.
Mm-hmm.
That does not mean sometimes the staff goes on high alert. They're like, oh my god, we got to pass that cake, but
Mm-hmm.
no, it's just for the pictures. Again, just hacking the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Experience as far as doing these things. So when you tell your client things like this, they're like, oh wow, like this guy knows what they're doing.
Right.
So sometimes I share that with them in that first meeting, and it just kind of like already leads up to like, hey, this guy, he knows what he's talking about. He's
Right.
in this medium. He does this professionally. So I try to coordinate their schedule and try to coordinate with what's going on, with their videographer and everybody, for them to get the most bang for their buck.
Mm-hmm.
I go back to, highly filled entertainment events where they have mariachi, they have me, they have the photo booth, and then they also have like a full-on band, and the band starts like I only have like a 30-minute section or a
Uh-huh.
45-minute section to get these things done.
Right.
And it's like I'm the one, day of event, if they don't have a wedding planner,
You kind of fill in and
I
help
feel
them.
it.
Yeah.
And it's not about like, well, I'm not getting paid for that. Well, first of all, if you're thinking that way, you're not priced accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
You are probably undercutting yourself, because you gotta leave in gaps for that. You gotta go in there. There's times where I've popping open the apple cider bottles and distribute them out to the guests, because we have a schedule to fill.
Right.
And we have to get this done.
Right.
And that's why I get
Serve your clients. Back to that. Exactly what you just said. Serve your clients.
serve your clients. You serve your clients. So
And for anybody listening that thinks like, okay, yeah, but like, I don't want to be like, messed over with this whole situation, right? Like, I don't want to be a DJ and then a wedding planner. You're working a lot. You know what you're doing, right? I mean, it's not like you just got there by accident. You're serving your clients, which means you get a lot of bookings, and, you're booked out a lot. So, people that want to grow their businesses and are starting out, or want to have a business but want to grow, you got to look at people that are super successful in the industry and see what they're doing. And right now he's telling you to, serve your clients, do more than what is expected of you. Right.
Yeah.
I had an event and there were some complications with it, but they told me, they're like, hey, can we do a slideshow? And I said, yeah, I actually have a projector and a screen if you want to do that. And they said, yeah, sure. How much is it? And so I told them how much it was. And I think it was like $300. It was like an add-on, but you get the music video mixing with it, and then you get slideshows and whatever else. And it's like all routed. And so it's like, cool, right? And they're like, oh, yeah. No, we're not going to do it. We have one. I'm like, okay, so that means you're going to go find one, like you don't have one. If you had one, you would have, not asked me. But I'm like, okay, whatever. Well, they did find one, and they brought it, and it didn't work. So who was the one that fixed it? That would have been me. So I was out there fixing their projector when I offered them one that worked and that I would have had handled, but that goes back to serving your clients. Did I have to do that? No. What was it? should I have? Well, I mean, that's where it gets kind of debatable. Like, no, I mean, they could have taken me up, but was it the right thing to do? Yes. And that is when you serve your clients. That is when you go above and beyond, and that's what ends up in good positive reviews on Wedding Wire. Oh, we lost him. I think he hit I think he hit what's it called? End on our call, but I'll get him back right now. So yeah, I mean, you have to serve your clients, and if you think that if you think like, oh well, I'm just getting paid for this, so I'm only gonna help them with this, you're only gonna go so far in the industry, and you're gonna hurt yourself, and you're gonna shoot yourself in the foot if you are thinking that you uh, are worth more and will not settle for anything under that, right? So if you and I get it, you don't want to be taken advantage of. Like, I'm with you, but one part of it is that you need to go above and beyond for your clients, and sometimes that may be, um, you know, helping them with a projector that that they passed up on your offer, or sometimes it could be a little bit more. Okay, he okay, he his phone died, so I'm gonna give him a call back right now. I will stay on the still stay on here. We don't edit on here. We just go. So you know, we don't you know. So yeah, I mean, he's dropping some really really important stuff that needs to, if you want to grow your business, if you want to start figuring out how to close more deals, that's one way how. Hey, hey, all right. It's all good. It's all
Sorry
good.
about that.
No, 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 you're totally fine.
Let me see. Am I choppy or is it it's coming in loud and clear
No,
here?
you are all good to go.
All right, all right. Yeah, it's I guess my phone went from like 80% down to like I guess zero with that FaceTime call. I guess I should have left it plugged in for
Yeah,
whatever reason.
no worries. Totally fine. Yeah,
But
so serve your clients. I mean, go above and beyond, because that'll get you the good review. You know. Um. Okay, so that's the event. What do you do after the event? Do you ask for reviews? Do you what is your post event kind of scheduling?
so usually it's kind of the flavor of what happens at the event. So at the event, after all the planning kind of takes place, I gear up with their schedule, and then they don't stick to it because that's pretty much what happens
Right,
at the
right, of
event.
course.
And you cannot get mad because you have to put yourself in their place. They have family from here, family from there, and they're
Hmm.
just all over the place. So sometimes they're on time, sometimes they're not, and you have to be able to be reactive
Hmm.
in that instance and not be like, well, the cake didn't happen at this time. Uh it's not my problem now.
Hmm.
I told them you got to make things happen no matter what. Same thing with your mixing. You got to make things happen. If the dance floor is not jiving to a certain genre,
Hmm.
try to switch it up gradually. Try to do this, try to do that.
Hmm.
And so I say, you put your best performance out there because that's gonna be that's your audition
Mm-hmm.
for your next event. And something that I
Right.
don't do at events is I don't put my business cards out on the tables.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody's really interested in my service, then they will go up to me
Yeah.
and they will ask me for my business card, and that's who I want to work with.
Right.
That's the person that I want to work with because they took time out of their day at the event
Mm-hmm.
to go ask me for my information, and that's who I would rather work with day of event. And or post event, they're gonna ask the right
Mm-hmm.
people, the bride and the groom, or the parents of the quinceañera, for my information.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I'm a big believer in not really being out there handing out my business cards to all the
Right.
tables, because then you're gonna start dealing with, events that you may not really want to do.
Mm-hmm.
In not in the sense of like snottyism, no, but just in the way of like, look, this is what I'm priced at, and this is who I better serve, and this is just how things get done in the
Mm-hmm.
best form. And so the day of event, once that's all done, I usually try to get a review from a video review from the couple the day of.
Mm-hmm.
Right after, while everything's fresh, I try to
Right.
get a
Smart.
review
Smart.
right when the event is done.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that doesn't lend itself,
Mm-hmm.
where the couple is just really, 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 really tired, and you could just see that, and or sometimes they dip out, or
Right. Right.
or they gotta, they have like a sparkler grand exit,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not gonna
Right.
be, I'm not gonna interrupt that, so. But a lot of the times I'm able to just like, hey, can I just get a quick video testimonial of
Mm-hmm.
the service? This and this and that and the third. And so I'll get that
Mm-hmm.
as a review. And then a little bit later, I kind of just let it simmer for a while. So like that, when they are, doing, if especially that they have, their event on a Saturday, usually on Sunday, they get back together and then they start, oh my God, your wedding, or
Mm-hmm.
her, this and this
Mm-hmm.
and that. And so we let that simmer, just let that
Uh-huh.
simmer, let that cook. Sometimes they're gonna go to a honeymoon, let them do what they're gonna
Uh-huh.
do. And then maybe like a week later, if I usually try to friend them on social media, or Instagram. I follow them, or
Mm-hmm.
vice versa. And then that's when I kind of go to, the Gary Vaynerchuk, try to mentality. The Gary V is, he's all like jab, jab, right hook.
Mm-hmm.
Then I hit him with the right hook. The right hook being like, hey, can I get a written review of our services? Now, everything leading up to that point,
Mm-hmm.
the getting the written review you should be able to get that.
Mm-hmm.
If you've done everything else right, and it should not be like pulling teeth. You should not have to ask
Right.
twice.
Right.
And if they don't do it on the first time, then let it go.
Yeah.
Um, and what I do is like, hey, I would love your written review. I'm gonna use this on my website, and I'm gonna showcase it with your picture, for other
Mm-hmm.
clients to see. And so you're like, oh, why he's gonna? And in my mind, what I'm thinking is, what they're thinking is like, oh, he's gonna put it on his website. He's gonna use a picture of us to describe the
Mm-hmm.
wedding, to describe what we look like, what
Right.
the imagery was that day. And I always try to put the photo credit back to who the vendor was that
Mm-hmm.
day. And then once I get the review, then I showcase it, on my website. Or what
Mm-hmm.
I like to do now is, I like to post it on my social media,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but something that I've been doing differently, and I think it's going to catch on pretty soon, is that I try to get a picture from the photographer that
Mm-hmm.
day, that they had that day, like a little sneak peek. And instead of just putting the screenshot of the written review, I'd rather put a picture of the bride and the groom,
Mm-hmm.
and then in the caption, what they said.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
Because again, you don't necessarily want the attention on you,
Mm-hmm.
although you kind of are working for that other lead,
Mm-hmm.
but you always want to serve them and highlight them. And the way that I've kind of have seen to be able to do that is I'm highlighting them by putting a picture of them, and then in the caption I go
Hmm.
ahead and put whatever they put on the review.
Hmm.
And that has been working out really well for me in the sense of shareability or
Hmm.
likability. That's kind of like the only
Yeah.
metric that you have to kind of measure it is, how many likes are you getting on
Hmm.
this? And I noticed a big difference versus like if I do a screenshot
Hmm.
of what they said in the
A
written
screenshot
review.
of the review from Wedding Wire
Yeah,
or Yelp or
yeah,
your email. Yeah.
yeah. So that's I think that's um there's probably other people that have been doing that for a while, but for me, I'm like, oh, this is cool. I should do this, and that's
Hmm.
what I started doing. And even also for at their event when they're doing their first dance, I always try to get a really good picture of them,
Hmm.
and sometimes I have a really good angle, and sometimes I don't. But
Hmm.
either way,
Yeah.
I share that on my social media,
Yeah.
and I always share that, and I tag the couple because just the way that the post editing works, for photographers and videographers,
Hmm.
they have to, not only are they there like 8 hours of their
Uh-huh.
day, they
Yeah.
also have to still go back and
And then edit
edit
it all.
everything. So that's
Right.
why a good photographer is going to be priced accordingly
Hmm.
to compensate not just for their time there that day, but for the time after,
Hmm.
because it's a it's a laboring process. So
Hmm.
so with that being said, a lot of the times they're not going to get their videos or their photography from their vendor until like a week or even a month out.
Yeah.
So whatever I can get that's professional quality. Even I use an app to have really nice text on it,
Hmm.
Mr. and Mrs. This or the newlyweds this. I give that to them, and I want to say like 60% of the time, guess what I'm seeing on their profile picture?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
I don't watermark it,
Hmm.
and I do that. I don't like to watermark it just because I want it to be about them,
Hmm.
and if somebody is there, somebody is interested, again, it goes back to like serving that demographic that you're gonna have the best mesh with,
Hmm.
and so I don't watermark it. I give them both. I give them the one without the Mr. and Mrs. and then the
Hmm.
one just
Right.
plain. And I mean, I add a little filters here and there, but nothing
Hmm.
too crazy. But yeah, again, it's from point A to point B, so that when you go in for that right hook, I'm a big follower of Gary Vee. When you go
Hmm.
in and you go in for that ask, you've done so much for them. They're
Right.
like, hell yeah,
Yeah. Let's do it.
yes,
Let's do it.
of
Yeah.
course.
Hmm.
Of course. How do you want this? You want this in a letter format? You want this, delivered by,
Uh-huh.
pigeon mail, or what do you
Right.
want? Like it's definitely that's what you're trying to get
Hmm.
to, and the reward in that is it always gets me like right in the feels.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. So I like that, putting reviews on your social mediums and putting it on. I usually put them on my Instagram story so that doesn't take up, but I like what you're saying about you put a picture of them. It's more attractive to people when they're scrolling through their page. When they're on your page looking, it's more attractive to them. And then the cool thing about that is when like I have a page on my website that is dedicated to all reviews. So they
Hmm.
can go on there, click it, and it has like every single review I've ever had in a text form so that they can see it and read it from there. And then it goes to the different sites, the Wedding Wire, the Yelp, all those things. And so they're all linked. And so it makes it easier for them. They don't have to go and then start doing another Google search. And, you're making it easier on your clients. And so that's really good. They go on your page. They don't have to then go to another page to see your reviews. They just pick any one of your pictures and they can see an awesome review from, Mr. and Mrs. Smith from 2 weeks ago, right? So that
Hmm.
is really good, serving your clients, making it easier for the clients to get that information. And then what else is that all you do once you're done? So you get a review, and then is there anything else that you end up doing with the clients?
I pretty much just right now, like I mentioned to you, I've have both of my full-time jobs right now,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm not my post engagement I feel kind of sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I think I need more work on that, and that's something that I'm going to be striving for once I have more time to
He's
be able
going
to
full time,
invest.
so he's going in for it. That's
Yeah,
awesome. Good for
yeah,
you, my man.
I have to, and again, going back to being able to be at peace, on my
Mm-hmm.
deathbed, saying, "Hey, I tried it. and in just being able to serve my
Hmm.
community more, being able to serve my demographic more, my clients and my family,
Hmm.
because being doing two jobs, it's really difficult when one of them is kind of taking up 40, 60 hours of your
Hmm.
week sometimes in the high season, and you yourself know this too, and so I definitely want to say that my post engagement is kind of whack.
Hmm.
I need to beef that up in the form of, hey, let me, sending them a thank you card,
Hmm.
or even other things that I have in my mind, but I haven't dished out yet, just because of the time. The
Right.
time is of the essence of
Hmm.
in trying to just stay afloat,
Hmm.
and trying to stay sane with everything that goes
Right.
on. But that's something that I do have to improve, is that
Hmm.
post engagement, but a lot of times it's we actually become friends in outside of just
Hmm.
me. I was just a wedding DJ. A
Right.
lot of the times, we become friends on Facebook, and then my personal Facebook. That's kind of something that I have that's really dear to my heart. So
Hmm.
when I reach out to a client and I, add them on my personal Facebook, for me it's like, hey, this is me, this is my life, because what I'm posting out like on my social media
Hmm.
doesn't have any pictures of my kids. It doesn't
Hmm.
have, just because it's public. I want that
Right.
to be public.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't want, to put my kids out there without kind of their consent,
Hmm.
if that kind of makes sense. It's going back to that Gary Vaynerchuk. He's really big on that
Right.
too,
Right.
and that's something that I kind of have felt in my being. But on my Facebook, my personal Facebook, I post a bunch of pictures of
Uh-huh.
them.
Yeah.
So, but again, it's just
So
where
you're
you
kind of creating
establish.
a more personal relationship with them, which kind
Yes.
of makes them feel special that you weren't just a DJ. Now you're kind of like a friend,
Yeah.
which then makes it easier for them to refer you to their friends because it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, like we use this guy and he's now a friend and like you should totally use him. I heard a quote and it said, "Don't do business with your friends. Do business with people who become your friends." Something
Yeah.
along those lines. That
Yeah.
like if you do business with friends, it's going to hurt you, like, because it kind of sometimes does. But if you do it with people and then you become friends, then you have a stronger relationship. And I have
Yeah.
that with many people. That's how I met my photographer. We started working together. I'm like, hey, like, I like you. And now we're friends and we still work and he does a ton of my stuff now. We didn't know each other. And I
Yeah.
have worked with people that I have known, and it ended up not great. So, you know,
Yeah.
uh, that's really good because once you have a friendship relationship, they are much more likely to refer you, especially since they worked with you. It's not
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, he's a friend. It's like, no, we've worked with him. He's a friend, and he's phenomenal.
Well, because they'll go up to bat for you, and
Totally.
no matter no matter how social media or how marketing or new marketing gimmicks
Hmm.
or this, that, and the third, your number one best form of marketing
Yep.
is going to be word of mouth.
Definitely.
Always, always. That's grassroots. That's
Hmm.
grassroots, because nowadays, like even Facebook's all like, when you go on Facebook, hey, does anybody have recommendations
Yep.
for? And then Facebook, oh, you're located in this,
Uh huh. Uh huh. Right.
recommendations around this area. People are going out and doing that. So um, when they go up to bat for you, they're gonna tag you. They're gonna be like, oh, check this out, check that out, and um, but if yeah, yeah, that
a
thing
little
that just.
a little under
Mhm.
50% of my business that is non-recurring, like schools, like I don't count schools and like corporate events like yearly company parties, is all word of mouth. So
Yeah,
it really is extremely important that you have a good reputation
yeah,
and keep that good and keep the make sure that you are friendly with your clients and not like just a DJ, that you're a
yeah,
friend, that you become a friend and you become a good person.
yeah, and usually throughout the process, I want to say for the most part, where they're seeking you out,
Hmm.
I've had instances where, for example, the father of the bride, or the father of the groom is paying for the DJ services. So the people who are actually getting married, the bride or the
Mm-hmm.
groom, they're not really like the DJ is not really like their main
Right.
priority. You know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
more of like either their food, their photography, or maybe none of them are, and they're just like, hey, we're getting an event paid for. Let's go ahead and get married. Sometimes you gotta feel that out, because I've
Mm-hmm.
had that before where I always go 110% and trying to serve them, trying to do this, trying to do that. And at the end of the day, if if you guys don't end up friends, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But you always go, that extra miles to try to serve them. And usually, for the most part, I want to say, dotting all your I's and crossing all your T's, usually they become friends
Mm-hmm.
because of the process that happens
Mm-hmm.
throughout that. When you're telling them, hey, we're running a little late here, but we're gonna hack your schedule and make this happen so like that, the photographer can capture this, like they're
Mm-hmm.
gonna appreciate that.
Right.
So yeah, it definitely goes more than just their event, and that's what really is gonna take you from, small scale to being able
Mm-hmm.
to hopefully doing this, full on.
Becoming a professional, doing the
Yeah,
right thing, serving your clients even when, you aren't too thrilled about it, doing
yeah.
the right thing. Yeah. Okay, so kind of wrapping up here, if you had to, if a DJ wanted one kind of piece of advice from you about how to get more events, how to get more money for their events, what would you say your one, maybe two tips would be?
I say start treating it as a business. Don't
Mm-hmm.
If you start seeing this, if you're just seeing this as a hobby, that's all it's going to be, and that's
Right.
all it's going to output for you. But if in turn you are, getting a website,
Mm-hmm.
you are reaching out to your clients and getting that review, when you shop on Amazon, you check out the reviews. If it has a
Totally.
5 star or 4.5
Uh-huh.
stars, or even, and if you can have video testimonials, um, I think you definitely, if you want to take it to where this is your livable income,
Mm-hmm.
then you got to treat it as a business in the form of how you present yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then second is work your freaking face off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not gonna be handed to you.
Right.
Nothing's gonna be like given to you. You got to go out, shadow, get
Right.
mentors, even, online mentors,
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, anything that you want to learn is out there.
Right.
Stay really hungry, stay really focused, and just keep always just feeding the brain, always
Mm-hmm.
keep essentially trying to grow your
Right.
craft, trying to be in a circle of people that are, who says this? Peter Mary says, don't listen to those who are oh man, I forgot this quote, but he talks about how, don't listen to the DJs that are earning less than you, saying you're
Mm-hmm.
not worth it. Listen to the
Yeah.
DJs who are charging more than you, saying you're worth
More.
more.
Yeah. I like it. Yeah.
And I think that's just like, whoa, because before me, I was like severely underpricing myself
Mm-hmm.
in the instance that I felt so guilty charging for something that I enjoyed doing so much.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I started comparing the services that I had and what I would do for my clients compared to, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, other, companies,
Uh-huh.
and what they were charging, I was like, wait a minute here. I have the radio experience, I have the mixing experience, the MC bilingual experience, this, that, and the third,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm underpricing myself. Like, why? Because of me. I'm my own. I'm the one that's,
Mm-hmm.
putting that out there. So how can you essentially, know what your worth is if you're not asking for it? And but again, it's staying hungry,
Mm-hmm.
working your face off, and treating it as a business, because you are investing in yourself, and you got to keep moving forward. Surround yourself with people who have that positive mentality, and people who are going to be helping you out. Don't
And who push you,
don't
who
Yeah,
push
they're
you to
gonna
go
push
more,
you. Yeah.
push you to go bigger. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Awesome.
exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for jumping on here. I appreciate it. I think the listeners are going to love it. It was an awesome podcast. Thank you again for jumping on.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the invite. I appreciate the opportunity to kind of share a little bit of, my gold nuggets, what makes
Hmm.
me tick. And they can also always reach out to me on my, social media platforms. Snapchat, it's at DJ Lunatico, but instead of with a C, it's with a K, and instead of with the O at the end, it's a zero. Same thing for the Instagram if they
So it's
want to.
DJLUNATIK 0.
Yes, that's
Awesome.
for my
Awesome.
Snapchat
Snapchat.
and for my Instagram if they want to add me on there. And also, they can also just look up DJ Lunatico on my Facebook for my fan page, and they can definitely connect with me there. And then just see the videos there. Also, on YouTube, been gig logging for a year now,
Hmm. Awesome.
so that really shows a lot of the inside,
Got some extra
behind the
tips in
scenes
there.
stuff. Yeah, I have a lot of gold nuggets in there too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Awesome. 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 So yeah, I took away a lot from this podcast with DJ Lunatico. So definitely, if you haven't checked him out, go ahead, DJ LUNATIK 0, and we will be back next week with another awesome podcast. So Tanner James, DJ TJ with DJ TJ Training for the Peak Period podcast. Thank you for checking it out, and I will catch you next week.